Hello. So, long time no see. On my here YouTube. So it's gonna take a little bit for me to get back into use to recording, especially long content. I've been on my TikTok and stuff. I've been recording that way. So right now, usually I don't think I'm usually recording in my kitchen, but I'm currently in my kitchen right now, and I decided to finally do this long awaited video that no one's been waiting for, but I have been. So thanks. Stick around, get some food, get some popcorn, use me as a body doubling if you want to, have me in the background, because I'm generally just going to be talking throughout this video. So, why we are all here is about my Paris and Japan trip and how did I do it, especially in a broke behind economy, especially what's currently going on. So, I did not go on these two trips this year. I went back in 2019. So I do want to preface by sitting here saying that obviously the economy was a little different. A little, not too much, but a little different. But this stuff can still apply to today, especially since everyone is like, I think I'm gonna go back to school. I think I'm gonna go back to school. I think I'm gonna go back to school. So this is probably the perfect time for me to be making this. So all the questions, I'm gonna be saying so a lot. I'm gonna try not to. The general questions that I think that you may have coming onto this here video. I don't have any catchy things. Maybe I'll add it in the intro. Who knows? But which trip was better? I feel like people would ask me a lot of those questions that I would get, especially when I just recently went when I recently came back from the trips. Which trip was better, Paris or Japan? Now, for me personally, it was Japan. And the reason why Japan specifically was better is that unless you're older and you like just looking at a lot of history, if you're a historian, if you're a history buff, if you really like those things, I feel like you will enjoy Paris. Also, I guess in the sense of if you like fashion, you will enjoy Paris. I went on a trip and I wasn't able to like look at the fashion stuff. So I'm not saying I won't go back again, but Japan was for sure my favorite because of the weather. The weather was different. So when I went to Paris, it was in March, and in March it was cold and wet. Terrible combination. Terrible, terrible, terrible combination. Cold and wet. So mind you, I did go not at a great time, especially weather-wise. The activities, we went to a lot of churches. We went to a lot of museums. And as much as I love a good museum, that got tiring after day three. Um, the people in the environment, it was cold. Again, it was cold. Um, I wouldn't say necessarily the people weren't mean in Paris. They were regular. I compared it a lot to like um how the trains like work and stuff. Almost like New York. I felt like I've never been to New York, but it kind of felt like that in a way. Especially when I went on a train. That was the first time I ever went on a train. Um, the second question I feel like a lot of people would ask me and have asked me is how was I a college student, a broke college student, be able to go to both these places in the same year? And the simple answer is financial aid. And obviously being in school. That's the simple answer. I'll dive in later, or if you want to skip ahead, I'll probably have like timestamps on there. If you really want to know like the process, I'll have a section for that. The third question is that okay, well you went to school, you how did you what was this program? It was called faculty led foreign exchange. So I did not go to Paris in Japan for like 3 months or 2 months or like 6 months out of the year or even a year. I did not like go to these places. I went for a span of 10 days for each trip. So we are finally now into me broadening and explaining the entire process. So, to start off, to give a little background, I don't know how I did it back in the day. I don't know how I did it back in the day, especially with having ADHD and not even knowing I had ADHD. I don't know how I did it. I just to lay it out what I was doing at the time. I was doing martial arts and I was getting ready for a ballet recital. And I was in school and I was working a part-time job. I somehow, some way, was just boop, 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 on my computer, looking at my email from school, saw like this email ad, and it was like foreign exchange or trip, something, something, something. I was like, what is that? Boop, clicked on it. Clicked on it. I see, oh, they have so and so trip and so and so trip, and you can come blah 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 to this building. I said, what? What is this building? So I literally wrote down the building name, took a picture of it. I was like, okay, let me next time I go to school, let me go check. So the very next day I had to go to school after class, and after I'm done, like I think I was done with all my classes. After I was done with all my classes, or at the very least, if I had like a big old gap, it's been like 6 years, so I don't remember my school schedule all that well. But I remember it was like after a class at the very least. If not, I was done with the classes for the day, and I went over to this building I've never been at. And I'm like looking, had to go get the map, asking other students and faculty, where is this building? Because I've never seen this building. And this was like a big campus. Not like a huge, like not huge, because there's been bigger campuses, but it wasn't a small campus at the very least to me. It wasn't too small. They had like maybe like 6 to 5 buildings. So if your campus is bigger than 6 to 5 buildings, then, but I think my campus had at least six, 5 to 6 buildings. I think so. Um, so I went to this building. It was a small building. It was small. It was like over on the side somewhere. And I walked in there, and I'm like, hi, do you guys do like the foreign exchange stuff like that? And then I see a poster on my like left hand side. They're like, yeah, we do. Uh, are you currently doing that? Are you currently taking the class? I'm like, I have no idea how this works. Can someone please explain to me how this works? So I'm sitting here talking with this person, the front desk person, having them explain to me how it works and all this stuff. And they gave me like a little paperwork or a little flyer thing. I was like, okay. So after that, I go and I leave and I get in my car and I'm like, okay, this costs so and so and this costs so and so. So roughly, uh, I had enough for at very least one trip. And I was like, what am I gonna do? Do I only pick one? Do I pick two? I have enough for one, um, for sure. And I was like, I don't know. I'm asking people for advice, and they're like, which which one do you want to go to more? I'm like, I want to go to both. These are on my bucket list. I want to go to both, and I wasn't sure, and I did not know. And I thought about it for a while. I looked at my bank account. Can I afford this? And I was literally like, I can afford one technically. Um, and then the very next day, I went back to that lady. I said, hey, um, you have any scholarships? You have any this? You have any that? And they're like, yeah, we do. So as she was talking about this stuff and the scholarships and stuff like that, I was like, oh, okay. Um, so I signed up for the scholarships. I signed up for that, and I go to my career advisor because also faculty led, like this specific program, faculty led, it requires you to take like a class, and it shows you to be able to go on a trip, you have to take this class. So, um, for the Paris one, it was, I think it was intro to like education or English or something like that. No, I probably not English, but education. And then Japan was intro to business. And I had to go to my career advisor. I was like, hey, is there any way I can actually do this trip? And she boop, 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 boop. Well, you have electives and you can use that. So I said, like, wait, I can use this as an elective. They're like, technically you can. That would be count as an elective for you. So I was like, so I could technically do both, and both would count as elective because I need to meet the requirements for the electives. And she was like, yes, you can technically use that as an elective, and that would count as an elective because it's not really in the program that you're in. And I was like, okay. So as I was doing that, I went and I talked to financial aid, talked to them, figured out how much money I was going to get back off of a refund, how much money I have currently in my bank account, how much I was going to get for a scholarship. And I was like, okay. So I decided, well, all the money I was pulling in and able to like borrow money from people, I was like, I can do both. I can do both. Technically, I can do both. But I hit a bump in the road. I hit a bump in the road. I missed already one of the payments, and the second payment was coming up soon. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So I go back to the same building. I was like, where's your director? Because I'm looking at all of the payments, and I'm like, Japan and the Paris one, they're 3 months apart, but they're like neck and neck with each other. Why is the Japan one like due by the end of December? That didn't make no sense. You have until June. So I literally somehow, some way, don't even ask me. I don't even know how. Somehow, some way, convince these professional people to move the payment date. Now, at this point in the video, if you're in the point in the video, like, how did you do it? I just asked. I could not tell you. I just asked. I talked to them, talked to the director, asked, can you move that? And lo and behold, a week later, or a couple of days later, it was changed. It was pushed. The payment dates were pushed for Japan. So I was able, and I also talked to her. I'm like, can I still do Paris because I did miss a payment? And they were like, yes, you technically still can do that. So I'm like, okay. So I talked to my career advisor. I literally had to. I think I had to be on the wait list for one of the classes. That was another thing. You got to be in the class to be able to do the trips. So even putting the money down was even like difficult. So I put the money down somehow, some way, got off the wait list for, I think it was Japan. I think I got off the wait list. That was another thing because I was like, oh my god, I had to be on the wait list, and I was freaking out because I was like, I got all this help to do both, and I'm like, I may not even be able to do it. So somehow, some way, I was able to get off the wait list and get on. Like, mind you, I want to preface by saying Paris, Paris wise, I already missed a payment. So there are people who went to that school in that career and wanted to be in that class, and that was an intro class. So somehow, some way, I was able to make it into that class. Somehow, some way, I was able to make it into the Japan class. It was a little easier, because I just had to be in a class, I think, for just the summer or for the spring semester. So I was like, okay, and somehow, some way, I pulled it off. And I'm trying my best to be like, let me tell all the facts and the this and the that. I'm doing it based off Dome from what I remember. Faculty led, faculty led. Just to like, I don't think I'll try to like maybe put a list in the edit, but for faculty led specifically, it requires you to be in a Pacific class. Um, Make sure you talk to your advisor so you can get into the class. make sure you make the payment dates. Um, what else? Some of them are non-refundable, and I think that was it. Faculty led. That was a program. Required classes. See if you can use that as an elective. So talk to your career advisor, and just make sure you don't miss any payments. Mind you, I also want to preface by saying, like, oh my gosh, like that's so much, that's so this, that's so that. I did not go to like a university because I decided to do 2-1-2. So if you don't know what that is, that's basically going 2 years to a community college, getting whatever your AA, your AS, whatever that is, because that's general classes that you have to take for just being in college. And then you can like actually go into your career or whatever field you want to major in. So it was way more affordable. I feel like, especially during that time, it was way more affordable. Uh, it wasn't taking out so much money out of my financial aid because the classes did not cost a lot. So I do want to preface by also saying, like, I went to a community college. I was not in a university. Universities tuitions are very different from community college because community college are more cheaper and more affordable, cause especially if it's local in state. So I was going to a community college in the state I lived in. So I was paying in-state tuition and I was also at a community college. So it was just cheaper that way to go that route. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that community colleges even do trips like that. Oh wow, I'm 17 minutes in. I think I'm doing pretty good on time if people have stuck around this long. Um, Also, talk to the teachers if it's faculty ed. Also, talk to the teachers who you're going to be taking classes with, because I also talked to both the teachers that I was doing Paris with, and I was talking to teachers who were doing Japan because I was doing both trips, and I was like, I need communication to be right as rain. And I think I'll talk a little bit more of like my experience um being there in a separate video. So, yes. What I will say is that if you're in college right now, or if you're going back to college to avoid those student loans, um, go and look to see either in your community college or in a university, look to see what programs they have for foreign exchange as well. Because if you want to like go abroad, or if you just want to be able to go on a trip that you've never been on, but you don't want to go alone. You don't want to go by yourself. You don't want to handle everything by yourself. That's another thing. Doing it through school, doing a trip through school, they have tour guides. You don't have to pay for tour guides. That stuff is paid for. They pay for certain meals. They pay for the admissions for these places. They pay for the hotels. They do the research on the hotels. A lot of this stuff is taken care of for you, that for me personally, I've never been anywhere outside of the US basically. So those were my first trips. I wouldn't know anything. I wouldn't know anything. I wouldn't know who to call, where to call, what number to pay. I would probably get scammed. I didn't know nothing. So if you've never been anywhere and you wanted to go on a trip, and that's the best way to do traveling. If you're a first time traveler, the best way to do it is through college. To me, hands down, that's the best way to do it. I know times have changed, things are different. We have more different new technology to do stuff now, but in all honesty, the safest and the best way if you a first time traveler is through college. So if you're like in your late 20s, still if you're still in your late 20s and you're getting your masters, or if you are just going back to college, like I said, because of what's currently going on, please look into that. You won't regret it. I shouldn't say you won't regret it. You most likely won't regret it. Um, so I think I'm gonna move this um location and take it upstairs because now it is time for pictures. I think I'm gonna add those into the video, so there's gonna be editing. But what I can do is show you the souvenirs I got. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them, some of the souvenirs I got. So hold on.